Hello and welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried. That is, as always, Mike Luciano. We're going to talk about the Jets. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to be talking about the Jets right now. I'm sure, Mike, you feel the same way. I don't think either of us want to be doing this. It's the same shit every time. Nothing is changing. I mean, I guess they changed the quarterback, sure, after they were down 29-6. Whatever. Who cares? Didn't matter. Not changing anything. 13 years without a playoff appearance. And it's not changing this year. Mike, do you know that the Jet Press is the only fan-sided NFL site that has never covered a playoff game? That's how long it's been since the Jets have been in the playoffs. FanSide has existed as a company for like 15 years. This is insane. This team sucks. The organization sucks. It sucks to watch this every single week. And I don't know what else to say, but we're here and we're going to talk about it and we're going to do our best to get through this.
I live in a pretty nice apartment complex. Like for what I can do, I think it's got some amenities. One of the problems is sometimes I think it could be a little noise. Like the noise travels very well, so sometimes you can hear in the hallway. Knowing that, I am so goddamn enraged right now. Had I not been in here, I would have been screaming at the top of my lungs like the most guttural death metal growl you've ever heard in your life, because it's one thing to go and watch a bad football game. How many bad football games have we seen as Jets fans? This was not a football game.
No.
I'm not even watching. What are we even watching anymore?
It's not.
It sucks for us because we appreciate you guys checking out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, we're all there, and YouTube and TikTok, the Jet Press. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you give it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We're so grateful that you guys choose to come here, of all places, after these games like this, and we want to give you guys really good analysis, hard-hitting analysis. What can you even analyze about this game? There's nothing we say there's nothing stinging. There's no incisive angles to really look at. There's no calling for change. Nothing's going to happen.
Nope.
You just got to sit there and watch this pap over and over and over again with no consequences. All right, we have to we want to give you guys a proper show. And a proper show begins with organization and structure. So, Justin, let's pick one freaking aspect of this goddamn game to hone in on first. I guess the quarterbacks.
No. Let's talk about the first play of the game, because that's
the first play. Xavier Gibson.
This was record timing, man. Like, this was first play of the game. I was like, I had convinced myself, because you know the cycle of being a Jets fan, and who the hell knows? Maybe in 7 days from now, we're going to do this again. But the cycle of being a Jets fan is, the season's over after a loss. Everything sucks. Fire everyone, bench everyone. And then you slowly talk yourself into, well, maybe this can happen, and maybe they can actually win. Hey, look, the Chargers lost. The Raiders lost. Look, the Jets have an opportunity. Even though the Dolphins won, they could potentially be competing for maybe even the division if they can win a game or two. And now Aaron Rodgers might be coming back. We talk ourselves into it, Mike. And then the very first play of the goddamn game, Xavier Gibson fumbles.
Xavier Gibson had been talked up all week, too. That's the funny part.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't want to harp too much on an undrafted rookie, because what should be expected of him, but he's had ball security issues in the past. This was an issue for him in the summer. Unfortunately, you traded away the guy who probably would have replaced him, and the other guy, not that I'm advocating for Randall Cobb to be active, is inactive. So, unfortunately, you were left with him just being stuck there as a punt returner. We could talk about Izzy Abanikanda replacing him and them not giving him any offensive snaps until the fourth quarter. But realistically, this game was over at the first play. That's when it ended. That's when the game ended. I was already mentally checked out by that point.
Actually, Justin, let's actually get to some comments first, like YouTube, Facebook, and stuff like that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Then we'll try to talk about whatever the hell that was. I almost said a bad word.
Say it. Fuck this. Say it.
I'm trying to keep it G-rated, man. Justin Jets. Thank you, Jets. My Sunday has been enriched thanks to you. This was a fun football watching experience. I obviously can taste the sarcasm bleeding out of that.
What do you mean? That guy, Justin is clearly thrilled to watch this team. His life is better having just watched that 60 minutes. I wish it was 60 minutes. It's 8 o'clock, man. That was 4 hours.
It felt longer than like every other game. Like it just took forever.
That was torture. Like that.
Oh my God.
It was a chore.
Luis Hernandez is very angry, and we don't know Spanish, but I know Vergüenza is shame, so he's ashamed of the Jets.
Is but always Jets. Jets, I think. Is that what that means? I took some Spanish.
Well, there is Shane, I know, involved in the Jets, which is sure. Oh my God, Brian in chat, we were talking about organization and structure. They are foreign concepts to Nathaniel Hackett. Oh, we'll get to him.
Oh, well,
you're not getting out of this, Hackett. You come right back in here.
I do love Justin Jett's comment saying that we got to see 6 points for a touchdown instead of field goals.
First time in 41 drives.
They scored a touchdown because they executed a fake punt to even get
the touchdown was on it. He didn't even throw the ball past the line of scrimmage.
No, because
it was basically a handoff. Oh my God. And then we also got another one from Gregory Freeman. The offensive line has never been upgraded. I mean, again, the offensive line is literally pulling guys off the street to play
Chris
now.
Glazer started this week. He's an undrafted or former undrafted free agent who replaced another former undrafted free agent who I guess got hurt. I believe Xavier Newman was injured, and that's why he wasn't brought up to the active roster. Doesn't matter. Like, are we going to sit here and talk about Chris Glazer? I don't want to do that. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm apathetic. I don't care.
We got Aaron Rodgers, and we're apathetic in November.
Aaron Rodgers is sending this team motivational videos. He's sending them videos of himself working out. He's like, "Hey kids, look, I'm gonna come
watch this better quarterback probably."
Yeah, honestly, he's like, "Hey kids, I'm gonna be back in a few weeks. Just hold down the fort a little bit longer while I'm out." And they do this. Like, what are you supposed to do at this point?
Julian DeJesus, if Woody had some huevos, he put tennis ball emojis. That's how it's showing up here. He'd make a coaching change. Travis Raymond, but he's just a kid crying. I mean, nobody's safe here. There's not one. We always try to do positives, negatives, no matter how small the positives are. There is not a positive. There is no positive. No area performed even average today. There's not one area where I'm like, okay, good. Maybe Morstead, great punt, great foot, whoever. Positive's over. Done.
Brian in chat pointed this out, that Saleh officially left the door open, did not label a starter for this week. And it's a short week.
Does it even matter?
I know it doesn't matter. Like, why do I care? I agree, Mike. I agree. It doesn't matter. But, like, it sounds like there's a good chance Zach doesn't start this week. Generally, when a coach is like, we haven't determined our starter this week, they're probably not going to go back to the guy they just benched. So I would imagine that means Tim Boyle starts a game. Does it matter? No, but Tim Boyle starts a game. So
Trevor Siemian might have mattered, but again, that was a move you make 3 weeks ago, not now. Season's over now.
Or Josh Dobbs or Carson Wentz or whoever. Like, and again, I also don't even think those would be significant upgrades because everything else is failing around them. I feel like it's Chargers syndrome where the Chargers, you watch that game today, like it's even their star players messing up. Like Keenan Allen drops a wide open touchdown pass. Austin Eckler fumbles. Like, it's happening with the Jets too. Like Garrett Wilson has another fumble. Breece Hall has a drop early in the game on the first drive. Like, everything is broken. Nothing is working. It's because everyone is pressing. Here we go. I'm trying to dig actual analysis out of what we just saw. And I don't want to do that. Like, I don't, because it's just bad and nothing is changing. You're right.
Okay, so the final stats for all the quarterbacks, both Boyle and Wilson combined, 14 of 29, 124 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and they've been sacked 6 times. Like, look around the league. 300-yard games, 3-4 touchdowns.
Tommy DeVito threw for 3 touchdowns today.
Tommy DeVito had a better game than Zach Wilson has ever had in his entire career with as bad a supporting cast. 6 points? 6? I don't even expect you to win the game. The defense can even play bad. You lose 32-20. I'm like, all right, whatever. Defense can't be amazing forever. 32-6?
Yeah, they had a few slip-ups, which, like, man, it's going to happen eventually. Like, it's really, and I don't blame the defensive players for the most part. Like, it's going to happen eventually. No defense or at least no defense in the NFL currently is going to be able to shut down their opponent the way the Jets defense had been doing it. And we've said it for weeks, it wasn't sustainable. And obviously it's not, because the wheels have entirely fallen off now. The lucky breaks aren't going their way. And the team has been exposed. They're awful. This is a bad football team, and I'm not sure how many more games they're going to win. Screw Aaron Rodgers coming back. You could forget that. Tell the man to stop rushing, because what's he rushing back to? What is he rushing back to?
A speed bridge for nothing.
And like, I don't know when we're going to get to Nathaniel Hackett, because I have a Hackett rant. That was my.
Let's just get to it now. There's no like way we could really. Everybody's all equal game at this point. There's no hierarchy of who sucked. Yeah. All right, let's get to Hackett. All right,
Nathaniel Hackett,
because I'm at the point now, like, for all this talk, all gas, no brakes, tough team, blah, 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 everybody, if I have to hear about people's feelings, how's Zach Wilson going to feel if he gets benched? How's Aaron Rodgers feel? Can we get a grip and be adults?
Yes. Thank you.
What is, all right, we've tossed this out as a theory a couple times before that the reason that Aaron Rodgers liked Nathaniel Hackett was he let him do whatever he want, which is also why Peyton Manning, I think, liked Adam Gase because Adam Gase let him do whatever he want. Because Peyton Manning was basically his own offensive coordinator in Denver. He was calling the plays and doing the routes and everything. Brady, I guess, did that a little bit with Josh McDaniels. I think McDaniels had a little more say than those two, but it was still clearly Brady's show in terms of just structurally how things were. Like, that's the only reason Rodgers likes Hackett. Aaron Rodgers is one of the smartest people, football intelligence-wise, to ever play in the NFL. There is no possible way he can look at Nathaniel Hackett's offense. Well, it's the Jets this year. This is what it was in Denver. This is what it was in Green Bay without him. This is what it was in Jacksonville. He can't look at that and say, this is cutting-edge coaching. This is great scheming. The only reason I think he liked Hackett is because Mike McCarthy was a dick, and he didn't like Mike McCarthy. Nathaniel Hackett is probably a nice guy outside of football, and he let Aaron Rodgers do whatever he wanted. There's not a single reason. Give me one reason. Not only forget he should be the offensive coordinator. I mean, that's a fact at this point. I don't even want to beat that down. Like, if you don't think that at this point, you're being a moron. What's the point for him even being employed as a position coach next year? Is he going to get fired? Who's going to want to hire him as a running back coach or something like that? There's nothing he's doing well. Bad communicator, bad schemer, bad motivator, bad play caller, bad in terms of knowing which personnel to use. Not one thing you can hold on to. Not one.
The NFL has a friendship connections problem when it comes to coaching. And it's had that problem for a while. And it's why you see bad coordinators, bad coaches continuously get recycled. That's why Nathaniel Hackett has a job right now after, look, we'll come out and say it. Sean Payton was right. Like, that was one of the most disgusting coaching performances that the NFL has ever seen last year, what Nathaniel Hackett did with the Broncos. He was absolutely right about that. I did enjoy the whole revenge narrative, but he wasn't wrong. Maybe it was unprompted, but he was right. He was absolutely right. Nathaniel Hackett has a job right now because he's best friends or good friends with Aaron Rodgers, and because he has experience with Robert Saleh. He's friends with Saleh. He's a likable guy. That's why he has a job. It's not because he's good at what he does, because there's a lot of history. There's a long track record that proves that he's not good at what he does. Whenever he's had an opportunity to call plays, he's not good. And in Green Bay, like you said, Mike, he was carried by Aaron Rodgers. He just basically allowed Rodgers to do whatever he wanted. And that was Rodgers' offense, much like it was Peyton Manning's offense in Denver. And it's carbon copy. It's the same shit with Gase. Dare I say it's worse? It's
much worse. Adam Gase, I'll give him credit. Adam Gase was good at scripting an opening drive, which to me, that at least tells me, all right, he kind of knows how to attack defenses. Now, he didn't have the personnel, and he was insanely unreasonably stubborn, and he wouldn't change anything. That's what sunk him. But I at least saw, like, all right, this guy, I think if you gave him some guys, he kind of looked like he knew what he was doing. Even in Miami, he wasn't very good, but you're like, all right, he at least like kind of knows what he's doing. Hackett doesn't.
And guess what happened when Gase got fired? He still hasn't been rehired by an NFL team. I don't know if he's ever going to coach in the NFL again because he was that bad. Like, he was so snake bitten from the time with, the failures in Miami at the end, and then with the Jets, it was so snake bitten and no one touched him. I really think that could happen with Hackett. Like, if the Jets fired Hackett tomorrow, who the hell in the NFL is hiring him? I don't think he's
college would hire him.
As Brian pointed out in chat, Syracuse just fired Dino Babers, so maybe he can go back to Syracuse and in some way be their passing game coordinator. I don't know.
It'd be worse. Dino Babers had a good passing offense.
He needs Nick Saban's he needs the Nick Saban rub like times 10, like to try and revitalize his career. But yeah, I mean, it's to the point where I don't give a shit about Aaron Rodgers' feelings. I don't care what he thinks. I don't care how he feels. Mike, you said it. He's watching the same garbage we're watching every week. This is not an NFL caliber offense. This is not like just normal bad offense. This isn't just a normal run-of-the-mill bad NFL offense, because there's a lot of those. This is historically bad. It's one of the worst offenses the NFL has seen in years. And I know the personnel sucks, but there are teams with worse personnel out there. And there sure as hell have been teams with worse personnel over the last 20 years that have produced at a higher rate than this Jets offense is producing right now. It's garbage. It's all garbage, from predictable personnel usage to just a bad game plan overall to no pre-snap motion to a conservative game plan. It's just all terrible. It's all really, really bad. And I don't even want to like go into the details at this point, because we've done that almost every single week. We've said, well, the Jets should be doing this. They could be doing this. They could be using these players more. It doesn't matter.
It was worse today. It was more boring today.
It was even worse. Sure, they had a couple of like, I think they had like 3 formations or 3 plays where they had Brees and Dalvin in the backfield at the same time. Cool, wonderful. I heard
How long did that take him to think up? 2 hours?
Yeah, I heard all week they're going to get Izzy Abanikanda involved. He's going to be the change of pace guy. He didn't get snaps until Tim Boyle was in the game in the 4th quarter. You lied. You just straight up lied. Like, they just flat out lied. And like, I know the receivers stink. They absolutely do. The receivers are really bad, but like, they also could have made a move at the deadline. They made their own bed with that shit. Like, there's no excuses. The excuses are gone. The excuses are gone for Zach Wilson, for Nathaniel Hackett. They're all really bad. The Jets need to completely reset their offense. And I know Aaron Rodgers is coming back next season. You need to figure out a way to get enough pieces around him that you can have a competent offense. Because what they have right now, if you just stuck Aaron Rodgers in there, I don't care if you stuck 2 years ago Aaron Rodgers, MVP level Aaron Rodgers, it's still a bad offense, because there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. They have like almost it's Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson who are even they're pressing. Even they're having their blunders, because what else are they supposed to do at this point? Everything is on their shoulders. They need to make the change. I don't give a shit about friendships. I don't care about connections. I'm past the point of caring about that stuff. Hackett needs to go. He needs to go.
Or at least Todd Downing. And Todd Downing is not a good coordinator. And he had a freaking DUI last year, almost killed somebody. I don't like Todd Downing either.
Who thought that getting the Titans' leftover scraps from a bad offensive coaching staff would be bad hires? Who would have thought? Who thought that Keith Carter wouldn't be a good offensive line coach when half his offensive line hated him in Tennessee?
All right, let's turn the bullhorn over back to chat for a little bit, because we got a really active one. Thank you guys again immeasurably for making us laugh and making your voices heard. We got RMO, Jets defense quiet quitting today. I mean, all right, yeah, they played really bad. Obviously, Sauce got beat on the long touchdown. But again, what's that? The worst play of Sauce's career in like almost 30 games?
It's hard to blame them, man. Like
this defense had to do insane things. If this defense is league average, if they're 17th in every category, do the Jets have a win?
No,
maybe Denver, maybe I don't know.
I don't think they have a win in Denver. Like, they only won it because their defense saved the day at the end. Like, I don't think they have a win. If this is a league average defense, I do not think the Jets have a win.
So yeah, I can't be too hard. I can't be too hard there. And yes, some people said Chat LaFleur was the play caller in Green Bay. That's even more, and that's supporting our argument against Hackett.
Exactly.
He didn't even do that.
Exactly.
In Green Bay. Gregory Freeman. The Jets didn't learn their lesson with Adam Gase. They rinsed and repeat. This is a lot worse.
Recycling bad offense coordinators doesn't work. Recycling guys who have had poor offenses and have not had a lot of success outside of an elite quarterback carrying them. Yeah, who would have thought that didn't work?
Sam Hunt, do we fire head coach, OC, and quarterback coach? Again, we're going to keep saying this till we're blue in the face. Yeah. Can we please see Robert Saleh with like a real quarterback? Not Zach Wilson, like a real quarterback. Because the last time he had kind of a real quarterback, Mike White and Flacco, he actually kind of had an offense.
Yeah.
Like, can we please get him with Rodgers or somebody? Like, I know that he's mismanaged a lot of things around this with Wilson being the backup and the loyalty to him and all that, but what's the correct way to manage Zach Wilson? Everybody just keeps saying, oh, Robert Saleh messed this up. What are they not doing? What would make Zach Wilson work? Nothing would.
Yeah. I think the biggest problems, because I truly, truly believe that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh could be a successful regime. The biggest issues that they've made, the biggest problems that they have, is that they've hitched their wagons to the wrong people. That's what it comes down to. Joe Douglas hitched his wagon to Zach Wilson. Robert Saleh is hitching his wagon to Nathaniel Hackett. They're just relying on the wrong people. And unfortunately, it could eventually cost them their jobs. I don't think they're going anywhere this year, but it sure as hell could be time to clean house if this team fails next year. I mean, you talk about must win. Like, everything will be on the line next year when Rodgers returns. And I hate that we're even talking about next year. It's November. I want to be talking about the playoffs. I want to be talking about the Jets maybe breaking the curse, maybe breaking that playoff drought.
Anthony West, Wilson needs to quit football. He's that bad. I've been saying, like, this isn't even good for him to be like there's no possible way his mental health could be good right now. Like for him, I'd want to leave, let alone for us. I mean, poor kid. As Travis says, not to contradict that statement, but Wilson is excellent as a bat boy. I mean,
I don't know.
Did you know Zach Wilson did not complete a pass to a wide receiver today?
I didn't know that, but
He had 7 completions, 5 were to Hall. Now Lazard had the drop, but he had 5 were to Hall, 1 were to Conklin, and 1 was to
that Lazard contract, $44 million over 4 years. They're stuck with him next year.
And 1 was to some Ruckert. So yeah, there was 1 to Ruckert, 1 to Conklin, I think, and 5 to Breece Hall. So yeah, none to a receiver. It's
just terrible, man. I don't even know what to say. Like, it's the same shit. All we can say is, yeah, fire Nathaniel Hackett. Cool. Like, would that change? I honestly don't even know if that would change anything, though. That's the thing. Like, I think it would be better because I cannot imagine it being much worse than this. But, like, do we want
shit sandwich or shit sandwich with mustard? Like, fundamentally, it doesn't.
Like, is Todd Downing going to call a better game plan? Maybe. Is it going to matter? Probably not. You know, like, probably not, if we're being honest. Like, nothing really is going to matter for the remainder of the season.
It's a very nihilistic podcast.
It is. Well, what are we supposed to say? We've been for 11 weeks, Mike. We've been saying what they could change and what they could do better and what they should do. It doesn't matter because they're not going to do it. They're just like, I want to say fire Nathaniel Hackett, and we will scream it until we're blue in the face, but they're not going to do it. Probably. They're probably not.
All right, now let's at least talk about, because again, I want to talk about the offensive line. Carter Warren was bad. It's his first game.
What analysis are we supposed to have?
Like,
Chris Glazer, a rookie undrafted free agent who had never played an offensive snap before today, was bad at right guard. Boy, I wouldn't have thought. That's what I would have thought. And he was playing alongside Max Mitchell and then a rookie, Joe Tippmann. I wonder why he was bad.
They had 3 rookies at one point. Or 4?
Well, Glazer, I guess, he was undrafted last year, but Glazer, Tippmann, Warren, and then, it's 3. Because then Mitchell and Tomlinson. Shout out Tomlinson, who just will forever stay healthy, I guess. I mean, whatever.
On this team, that's an accomplishment.
It is. Because
that's an accomplishment.
It is dumb. Like, when I see of all the issues that people will have with, like, Joe Douglas and shit, and you could have your issues with, like, some of the things with the offensive line this offseason. There's no team that can prepare for the offensive line injuries the Jets have had. There's just not. Like, it's unbelievable. And it's last year was like this too. The last 2 years, they've been historically injured along the offensive line. And you could say maybe they shouldn't have, or not maybe, they shouldn't have relied on Dwayne Brown and Mekhi Becton as your tackles to stay healthy for an entire season. Sure. But, like, what are you going to do, man? They're out of guards. They ran out of offensive guards. They had to bring, Chris Glazer was on the Cowboys practice squad 2 weeks ago. And he started.
Now he's starting against Ed Oliver and a motivated Buffalo defense.
And he replaced a guy who was on the Titans practice squad. He was on the Titans practice squad like 3 weeks before he started a game for the Jets. What do you do? Like, what do you do at that point?
That's why, like, I did see, because somehow, I don't know how, but there were Zach Wilson truthers talking after I don't know. I don't know how. This is like bordering on cultish. Like, I've always wondered watching documentary, how could people get into cults? Now I get it. Because at least cult leaders typically have to be charismatic and at least offer you some reward. Like, Zach Wilson doesn't, and people are buying into him. It's so strange. Now, finally, though, it looks like there might be some finality here, because for the 3rd time in 2 years, the number 2 overall pick has been benched. Tim Boyle comes in. Tim Boyle was actually probably worse. He wasn't throwing downfield as much as Zach Wilson. Think about that. That's a crazy statement. He did throw 1 interception. I believe he threw another that got negated. So
the other one, that was tipped. The other one, it was
tipped. So like, it's one of those things too, where we said beforehand, we're like, put Boyle or Simeon, like, if they're terrible, we'll come on here and say, hey, you know what, they were terrible, and you know what, they were terrible. I honestly don't even want to say, at least Robert Saleh like had some guts to go in there and make the switch to Tim Boyle. If he did that in the second quarter when it's 9-0, I'm like, all right, good, something different. He did when he's 29-3. Game's over.
That's the thing. Like,
that didn't tell me anything. I can't even evaluate Tim Boyle. How do you evaluate that?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say, how do we even evaluate Tim Boyle? He was thrown in a situation where the defense is just playing back. They're not even blitzing. They're just vanilla looks, like as vanilla as possible.
And he still couldn't do anything.
He still had a couple of drops. The receivers still weren't getting open. He forced that last interception because he's just trying to do something. Like, I gained no new information on Tim Boyle. He is still an anomaly or an enigma to me. I don't know I know what he is from his college days, and he was awful then. Like, and I know what he's done in the NFL in his limited spurts, and he's been really bad then. But as far as what he's done with the Jets, I couldn't tell you a single thing about Tim Boyle. I have no idea. And why isn't like, and I don't even care, man, but why isn't it Trevor Siemian? Like, why is it not Trevor Siemian at QB2? Does it matter? No, but one of them is clearly a better option. Like, obviously one of them's a better option. One of them is proven to be a better option. He's had what, 2 months to learn the offense.
Apparently it's too complex. It was too complex for Mecole Hardman. How can this offense possibly be complex? They do nothing. They run the same play. How is it hard?
I'm trying so hard to care. Like, I'm trying.
I'm not even like angry because I care. I'm angry and more like disbelief because nothing I'm seeing, like, there's no logic behind anything. It's just stuff just happens.
Yep.
With no rhyme or reason, and then we're left to pick up the pieces. I'm confused.
That's the Jets season. Shit just happens, and sometimes it's good shit, sometimes it's bad shit, and here we are, and we're talking about it after the game, and none of it's going to matter. Now I'm getting what's the word? Existential. I'm getting existential right now. This is bad. Let me relax. So like nothing matters. Well, if nothing matters with the Jets, then maybe.
Oh God.
It's all. What are we supposed to say? Like, genuinely, what are we supposed to say?
All right, I have a question. All right, I will genuinely ask you this now because we had said beforehand that this defense was too good to tank. I still think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had your druthers, do you at least try to go down and say, hey, we believe quarterback X, which is probably still Zach Wilson, honestly, for being honest, is our guy. We're going to try and give it a puncher's chance. I think the Jaguars were also 4-7 at this point last year, and they ended up winning out and getting a home playoff game, and they ended up winning that and beating the Chargers. Like, you never know what can happen, especially in a wide-open AFC with a bunch of quarterback injuries. Do you do that, or do you just say, white flag, give up? Because this defense is good. It's good, but now I think it's finally been punctured. I think probably some of the aura and the mystique has been taken out of it. Again, totally not their fault. They're on the field all the time, and they've got, if your kid is in school and they have an A+ average and they get A's on every test, and then one time they bring home a C-, like, you're like, oh, okay, fine, you got A's and everything else. Like, that's how I'm viewing this defense. So do you still think, like, all right, we're going to go with the formula, Breece Hall in the defense, or do you just say, give up? As Metallica would say, nothing else matters.
I think whichever route they go, it's the same result. Like, they could be trying their hardest, and they're probably still going to lose a lot of games. Like, if we're being completely honest, they could stick with Zach Wilson. They could throw Tim Boyle out there. Hell, they could throw Trevor Siemian. I don't care if they go out and re-sign Joe Flacco because he still hasn't signed with the Browns yet. I don't care who it is. It's going to probably produce the same results unless they make wholesale changes, which the time for wholesale changes is gone. Like, they could fire Nathaniel Hackett, sure. That would be as close to a wholesale change as they could probably realistically make at this stage. But is that even realistic? I don't think they would do that. I don't think they go in that direction. So as a Jets fan, I'm going to be rooting for them to beat the Dolphins, obviously. Like, I think as much as we'll say their season's done after this game, I'm probably still going to talk myself into, well, if they just somehow steal a win against the Dolphins, maybe something can happen. I see that happening. But if they lose against Miami and they're 4-7 at that point, it's over, man. Like, it's over. And at that point, you might as well.
I'm sorry. I just saw a quote. Robert Saleh said, I thought Tim Boyle did good things.
Whatever. I don't care.
It's like we're talking to aliens. Like, it doesn't even.
It's the same thing every week. None of it matters, man. Like, it's the same shit every single week. So yeah, I'll be rooting for the Jets against the Dolphins. I want them to win that game. If they're 4-7 at that point, yeah, man, I'm in the tank boat. Like, they're not going to obviously tank. None of this team is not tanking. Although it is a unique situation where the coaching staff might have assurance that they're back next year. So there could be some incentive to, like, lose, not intentionally, but maybe play some of the younger guys. I don't know. At least
they were supposed to do that this week, and they didn't.
I know, Mike. I know. Like, I'm just like,
I'm trying to. We're gonna play the younger guys, then they play the vets. We're gonna play the vets, then they play the younger guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's complete backwards world. I'm not even. It's thrown all my principles of how I watch football and how I analyze it and how I cover the sport. Yep. Like, this season has thrown all of that completely out of the water.
I don't know.
Everything you expect to happen logically and naturally just doesn't happen. And then they're like, oh, yeah, that's what we wanted all along. Like, it doesn't compute. If this was like a cartoon and I was a computer, I would explode in a big fire right now.
I don't know if Saleh has been asked this yet about Izzy Abanikanda, why he hasn't played, but I almost guarantee you the reason he's going to give is going to be like, oh, game script. You know, we didn't run a lot of offensive plays. We would have liked to have him out there earlier.
Third down. He's going to say third down again. That's his...
third downs. Yep, he's going to say third, which is insane that they didn't convert a single. Or they converted one third down, or they didn't convert any third downs in the game, right?
None.
I'm pretty sure or did they get one third down?
It was like at the end in the Boyle.
Even if they did, it was complete garbage time, obviously. But they were like
blacked out most of the fourth quarter, so I don't remember like stats that happened there.
I think they had one. I'm looking it up right now. But either way, they were good on fourth down. Nope, they were 0 for 11 on third down. I was too optimistic. They did not convert a single third down. They almost converted one. That's right. It was like 4th and 1. Then they got the QB sneak with Tim Boyle. I don't even know why I remember that. Why does it matter? It doesn't matter, man.
It doesn't matter. That's the thing.
It does not matter. But yeah, I'm sure if Salah's asked, like, hey, why didn't we get Izzy Abanikanda involved? He'll be like, game script. You know, we didn't run as many plays as we wanted to, because that's what they said earlier in the year. That's what they were saying about Mecole Hardman, man. And look where Mecole Hardman is now. They were saying, yeah, we wanted to get him involved, game script. Look where Mecole Hardman is now. Not on the Jets anymore.
With a Super Bowl favorite is where he is.
Yeah, it's good they did him a freaking favor. They did him a favor, man. Good on them for doing that. Good on them for getting Michael Carter out of here. Not that he went, Arizona's not exactly a great franchise right now, but their offense looks a lot better than this. I can tell you that. Every offense does.
Let's go back to we don't have call-ins right now, so let's go back to the phones, which is our chat on YouTube and Facebook. George Wainwright, this O-line couldn't block my dead mother. Well, rest in peace to your mother, George. We're very sorry to hear about that, but I mean,
I don't doubt it.
I don't doubt. She probably was in her heyday. Was probably very elusive and had a good
move around. Max Mitchell, I can see it.
Oh my goodness. Brian Sternbeck brings up a good point. I can't get behind Douglas coming back after his 4th consecutive 10-loss season. And but again, he pulls off the Aaron Rodgers trade. And they wouldn't be a Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers if all these injuries happen alongside Aaron Rodgers, but they'd be better. Yeah. They'd probably be in the wild card hunt for sure. They'd probably be in one of the wild card spots right now. I think can't blame Joe Douglas for Rodgers getting hurt. You could blame him for Zach Wilson being the backup, but not for the injury.
I think it's fair to say that Douglas deserves a year with the team that he envisioned, which was Aaron Rodgers and this whatever roster he's built, which is this roster. He gets that next year, and if it doesn't produce results, and it probably won't if we're being completely honest, because we're talking about a 40-year-old coming off a torn Achilles with an offense that still has so many holes and so many issues, probably going to have the same offensive coordinator. O-line is probably still going to have some holes because realistically they have 2 long-term building blocks there, and Vera Tucker, who is, I don't want to say he's injury prone, but he's had 2, he's had consecutive season-ending injuries, unrelated to each other, but that's still the case. And then Joe Tippmann, those are your 2 building blocks on offense, because I'm not sure that Mekhi Becton comes back, especially after that ankle injury. I mean, I feel really bad for the guy. I really do. But there's a non-zero chance he's played his final game with the Jets. I know that they said the Rich Media, I believe, reported it, that they believe it's a high ankle sprain. With Mekhi Becton, I don't know. Like that could keep him out the rest of the year. I really don't know. You hope that's hopefully just like 2-3 weeks. Could be a little bit longer, but I don't know.
Rush him back.
Yeah, I think Douglas, I don't want to say deserves, but it makes sense to bring him back with the team that he envisioned. But that's it, man. You don't get another year after that. If Rodgers fails, I'm sorry he got hurt, but that's, again, you hitched your wagon to him. You said that this is the guy we're going to bring in, and this is the roster we envision that can win with Aaron Rodgers. And if you don't win with him, that's it. That's your chance. You had 2 chances. You messed it up with Zach Wilson, and then you messed it up with Aaron Rodgers. I think Joe Douglas can be a good general manager who has done a lot of good things for this Jets organization. I think he has his strengths, but he also has his weaknesses. And unfortunately, if it's a results business, it's a results-driven league. That's what it is. And if you don't get the results, he had 2 opportunities. Yeah, I agree. If there's no playoffs after next year, everyone's gone. You clean house for sure.
Brian brings up another interesting debate where he, in so many words, says, what is now the worst draft class in franchise history? Is it the Idzik 12 or is it the COVID class? Because Becton is still probably the best player from that 2020
it's
COVID
tough
class.
To say, because the Idzik 12 is so bad because they had so many picks. That,
at least that Sheldon Richardson in there. That was a good pick.
In the Idzik 12? Well, that was no, that was 2013, 2014.
So never mind then.
Yeah, their only good pick in that draft was Quincy Enunwa, which great pick, 6th round, excellent pick. Also, I'll throw it out there. Dakota Dozier, 4th round pick. That's fine for a 4th round pick. He's a fringe starting guard. He's been a fringe starting guard in the NFL for a few years. That's fine. But I also will say 2020 was a bad draft for a lot of teams because the COVID year kind of messed a lot of things up. This isn't to excuse that draft because it's a horrific draft class and one of the worst in Jets history. I would still give the nod. It's tough because they did get Quincy Nuno in that draft. In 2020, they got Bryce Hall in the 5th round. That's a good pick. Bryce Hall in the 5th round is a good pick. Honestly, Ashton Davis in the 3rd round is shockingly not a horrific pick. Like, he's at least still on the roster.
He's still on the roster. Wow.
For a 3rd round pick, you got to say like a 3rd or a 4th safety. That's not awful. Like, there's a lot of 3rd round picks that are worse than that. But I mean, I'm not going to defend any other pick. It's Becton, definitely looking like a swing and a miss at pick 11. Mims, obviously a miss. Jabari Zuniga, obviously a miss. Michael Pirine, James Morgan, Cam Clark. That one sucks. Feel bad for that one. It's bad. I want to do a pod. This would be fun. I want to do a podcast where we look back at some really bad Jets drafts. I want to do an episode one time, maybe in the offseason.
Probably do that next week because we're not going to matter previewing the Dolphins game because what do we say?
True. What else are we going to talk about? We can do that. We can do that in a couple days.
But Anthony West, the defense is discouraged. They've done their best. They're tired of this damn offense not scoring. How could you not be? 2 years in a row, same exact thing. And this year the defense is probably better.
And then we saw the frustrations after the game. There was the scuffle with Michael Clemens and Deion Dawkins, whatever. We're seeing scuffles on the field. Like, the Jets players are pissed. They're tired of losing, dude. Like, look at CJ Mosley. I saw him doing a little like shoving after a play. This man's been here for 4 years now? 2019, 20, 21, 22. This is his 5th year. This is his 5th year with the Jets. He's seen how bad this organization was under Adam Gase. This was supposed to be different. He was hoping to win. And the dude's also playing some of the best football he's ever played in his entire career. I don't blame them for being pissed. I don't blame any of these guys for being pissed. They should be pissed. And
we're pissed. Imagine how they feel.
Right. And it ultimately goes down to the coaching staff because now you got to try and keep everyone's spirits up. You got to keep everyone focused. And I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that with an offense that's this bad. Like, when it's very clear that one side of the ball is doing their job and the other side is not, you're going to fracture the locker room. How do you not at that point?
Travis Raymond, too. Let's go dig up Wayne Fontes. Sal needs to go. I have some bad news for you. Wayne Fontes is still alive. So Travis just prematurely killed Wayne Fontes, who used to be the coach. He used to be the coach of the Lions in the 90s. And you know what? Wayne Fontes went to the playoffs 4 times in 5 years and got to an NFC championship game with the Lions. So, yeah, Wayne Fontes is a better coach than Robert Saleh right now.
What a shout, man. What a shout. Wayne Fontes. Are we serious right now?
Well, because again, he had Barry Sanders in his prime and Herbert Moore and all those guys, and he didn't really do a lot of winning with them. So he's like he was the Brandon Staley of his time, pretty much.
Sure. Well, he won. I just looked him up. He won Coach of the Year. So good for him.
He did win Coach of the Year once. So yeah, good. But he's also not dead. He's very much alive. And he probably would be a better offensive coordinator than Nathaniel Hackett at this point, even though I think he was a defensive coach early on. So that's the level. That's the level we're at right now. Where
do you even want to talk Dolphins? Like, do you even want to preview the next game? Do you want to talk about it at all? Like,
I mean, I guess, like,
what do we say? Like, what are we gonna say?
All right. If the Jets did this, if they did this 2 weeks ago, if they were playing this same Dolphins team, the Jets from 2 weeks ago, I'm like, all right, you know what? Tua was really good today against the Raiders, but he's had some issues lately in terms of ball security. Sometimes if he's like thrown off his spot and Mike McDaniel's play call isn't right where he wants to, then he's not as great as he normally is. Sometimes when Tyreek Hill or Waddle will go out and they don't have both of them, the offense can look okay. They're not as good away from Miami. And then you're like, all right, there's a formula. The defense has been a lot better with Jalen Ramsey, but I still don't think it's like elite, especially the run defense. I'm like, all right, this is the formula. Brees. Mm-hmm. Hold them to 16 points, and then who knows what will happen. That's all out the window. The formula just got blowtorched by the Bills. With first game with a new coordinator. Blowtorched to them. So now I don't see a path. In prime time, they're going to start Tim Boyle on a short week in prime time where they're the only game on the entire day. This is going to be butt fumble bad. This is going to be butt fumble bad. No matter who's the quarterback. If they win, we'll come up with something in the Wednesday show. I will have to do something incredibly ridiculous and silly on this stream because there's no possible way. There's no advantage to take. There's nothing to take advantage of. That's how destitute this team is.
Here's the thing, though. Do you remember the last time that we were talking like this? It was against the Chiefs.
It was against New England.
No, the Chiefs.
Well, Chiefs, we were actually feeling okay because they
No.
actually.
No way. We went into that game being
I meant after the game. I'm like,
before the game.
after the Chiefs game, I'm like, all right, we felt okay. Before
Yeah,
we're like, yeah,
before the Chiefs game, we went in and said there is 0% chance they win this game. I don't see a path where they can win. There's no way they can do this. We were like, Zach Wilson was playing for his entire career at that point. And I know somebody, I think it was Patrick Ko, brought this up in chat earlier. I don't even know if I can scroll back and find it, but said basically that after the show, we said that Zach Wilson playing well against the Chiefs and not being benched was the worst thing that happens in the Jets season. And you can make that argument. Like, he definitely bought himself many more weeks, but always.
But that wouldn't have worked anyway because the Boyle would have came in.
As we've learned from many years watching this team, always expect the unexpected. I cannot sit here and say that there's no way they're going to win that game because I could absolutely see whoever starts at quarterback somehow balling out on primetime television and the Jets find a way to beat the Dolphins and everyone's back in it for another week. I can 100% see that happening. I don't know how. It won't make any sense when it does happen. Just like that Chiefs game didn't make any sense. There's no reason that offense should have been functioning at that level, but they did. I could totally see something completely unforeseen happening. The Browns are signing Joe Flacco, by the way, so forget what I said before that. They're officially signing him. But I could totally see some scenario where somehow the Jets offense figures it out for 1 week and they do well. And maybe it's Zach Wilson. Honestly, maybe Tim Boyle starts and he gets hurt. Zach Wilson comes in because they still don't want to elevate Trevor Siemian. And Wilson balls out and he's the starter again for the next 5 weeks. I can see that. I can 100% see it. Anything is possible with this team. Anything. But no,
how is this team,
objectively, they should not win.
How is this team both expect the unexpected and also the most predictable, boring team in the league? Like, it's expect the unexpected because all this like stuff that we make fun of happens, and then it's Zach Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett coordinated offense. It's like, we all know how that's going to go. So that's not expect the unexpected. That's the most expected thing ever.
That's so true. Honestly, I feel like at points, the unpredictability is what's predictable. Like, I feel like at a certain
point, it's not even unpredictable because
at a certain point with the Jets, it's predictable how unpredictable they are. Does that even make sense? We're 43 minutes in.
No. No, it doesn't. This team has broken my brain.
Yes. They've broken my will to watch the sport that I love, man. Like this, I love this sport. I got into this field because I love this. I love watching football. I'm sick. I don't want to watch the Sunday night game tonight. I'm not going to watch it because I'm just tired. And I want to see.
You brought up a good point.
I'm going to watch Josh Dobbs lead a Vikings offense to probably 30 points tonight. Like I don't want to watch it.
You brought up a good point earlier in the game on Twitter before the Bills really started scoring the big long touchdowns and then goodnight Vienna when they were still kicking field goals. You're like, even if we've seen bad offenses before, but because of the fact that no one scores the Jets don't score touchdowns and the Bills don't, it makes you feel like loopy and insane because you're like, in football, touchdowns happen and there's never any touchdowns for anybody.
I know I ignore the few defensive blunders later in the game, but for the most part, watching the Jets this season has been like watching a completely alternate reality version of what football is, where touchdowns just can't be scored by either team. That's what it's been like. It feels like that. And it's just, I know we say the phrase, oh, it's not the same sport. We say that all the time. It's not. Like this, the Jets do not play the same sport as 31 other teams in the NFL. Maybe the Patriots, maybe the Steelers. There's a few.
Steelers win games.
There's a few that are maybe playing a similar-ish style of sport on offense, but for the most part, it's not. It's not. And by the way, if they're saying, even if the Jets and Steelers are playing the same sport, the Steelers' offense is still 10 times better at that sport than the Jets are. I'm just saying that maybe it's the same sport where they're not scoring a lot of touchdowns. But yeah, Patrick Hale says 1940s football. That's what this is. That's Nathaniel Hackett would be an awesome offensive coordinator in 1940s.
Not even if you Sid Luckman and George Blanda and Johnny Lujack, they were chucking the ball. Jets don't.
I don't know.
How about a Johnny Lujack reference at 8:40 on Sunday night?
I don't even know who that is. I know Sid Luckman. I don't know Johnny Lujack.
They were quarterbacks together on the Bears, but way back when. But
I know that Hackett would have Y.A. Tittle slinging that thing.
it makes you insane, because it makes you like the Joker. Like you just start laughing by yourself and going crazy. Like I remember, I think it was when it wasn't the fake punt. It was the drive before that where there was another really bad sack. And I'm by myself in my apartment and I just start cackling
Yeah.
Like to nobody. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to like be like the Joker and snap and go insane. Like this is not good.
The whole broadcast, you got Jim Nantz and Tony Romo laughing at the Jets. And look, I don't blame them. It's funny. This shit is funny.
I'd
like,
rather that than at least like Aikman was pissed. I've never seen.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. There have been horrible quarterbacks. Commenters hate Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
And not undeservedly, justifiably. They hate watching Zach Wilson as much as I've seen them hate any player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like they can't stand it.
Because they're like, why is this dude still starting? That's why. The entire NFL world is saying that. Like every tweet, every analyst is like, how is this man still starting? When he finally got benched, today, I got like rapid fire from all the people I have tweet notifications on. It was like, oh my God, Zach Wilson finally got benched. And it's like, everybody is saying this shit. Everyone's like, he finally got benched.
And it wasn't like good for Robert Saleh. Or it was like, thank God.
Yeah,
like,
it was
you're
like
being mean to the kid almost.
It's insane, man. Like and you know what? We're going to be back here on Friday, probably saying the same thing. We'll probably be saying the same thing. We got to save some of this content, Mike. We got to save the ways that we're
trying to pace it out over the next month of the season.
We have to save the ways that we're describing how bad this Jets offense is, because we have another, what are they, 4-6? So they got 7 games left. We got another 7 games to do this. Another 7 games to talk about how bad this Jets offense is. We got to save some of this stuff.
Oh my God!
You got to stop the Sid Luckman references. You got to look up other 40s quarterbacks, other 50s quarterbacks, and just bring them up instead.
Arnie Herber throwing to Don Hudson.
How many 40s quarterbacks do you know?
Arnie Herber was in the 30s.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ!
Him and Don Hudson were like the first guys to like get a bunch of big passing yards, chucking it deep for the Packers. Let me think of some other 40 guys. George Blanda was like the 50s. I'll come up with guys. I'm an elite at let's name some dudes. I'm elite at that game. So
I love that. I mean, I'm good at that game, not pre-1950, but you know.
Well, I didn't do a lot of dating in college, so these are the kind of things you do to fill the caps in the
Instead of guess the Jet for you, we got to do like just guess the 1940s quarterback. That's what we'll do. Just for you. For me, I can't do that.
Big Tobin Rote fan, yeah.
Tobin Rote, you're making up names. These aren't real names.
He was actually really good. I think he still has like 4,000 rushing yards.
You're gonna be like, oh, Blackjack Jefferson was slinging it to like Speedy Romero, and I'm like, what are you saying? Like, what is
150 touchdowns, led the league in touchdown passes twice.
Sure.
Tobin Rote supremacy here.
I don't know, man. And guess what? Nathaniel Hackett probably still could. Like, if you put Nathaniel Hackett back there, they're probably a bad offense. Like, I don't know, man.
The Jets right now, if the season ended right now, the Jets would have the number 11 pick.
Cool.
Which is disheartening because they were 11 when they got Mekhi Becton and 13 last year, and there we are.
It's awful, dude. I don't know what else to say at this point. I'm tired of getting laughed at. Like I'm tired of the Jets, even when they're 4-6, being the laughing stock of the NFL. I'm really, really tired of that.
That's why I thought Aaron would fix it, and he didn't. Like I'm looking at Tankathon right now for the draft order.
We're so back. We
are so back.
Got a book.
For my money, there are only 5 teams in the league that I think are unquestionably worse than the Jets right now.
Okay.
The Panthers, the Bears, the Giants, the Patriots, the Cardinals. I think that's
on paper. Yeah, on paper, I would agree. The defense just carries them to being better than those teams. Yeah, and I know it's hard to say that after what we just saw, but yeah, I would agree with that. But
Tennessee, I don't know. Washington, I don't know. Green Bay, I don't know.
I think I'd put Washington under them. I would put Washington. They are awful. They are a very. Ron Rivera might get fired tomorrow. Like they're really bad. Sammy
Howell, a lot better than.
Oh yeah, Sam Howell's better. Like the defense is bad. Like they're bad. That's a bad football team. Not that the Jets are a good football team, because they're clearly not. I mean, who knows? It could spiral. It could tailspin. It could get even worse. Like if Saleh and the coaching staff lose the locker room even more, maybe they do get blown out every week. Maybe they get blown out by the Dolphins. I don't know. I could totally see Tyreek torching this defense next week, but I could also see Tim Boyle or Zach Wilson throwing for 250 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like I could see that happening, because it would be the most Jets thing to happen. It'd be so unexpected. But
I think it's time, because we're at that point now where I'm talking about Sammy Baugh and Bob Waterfield.
I'm back with Sammy Baugh. I know Sammy Baugh. You got me back with Sammy Baugh.
Bob Waterfield, I think, used to date like a movie star. Jane Russell. He was married to Jane Russell. Yeah. So
I know Jane Russell.
Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, I believe she was in with
Sure.
Marilyn Monroe. All right, now that we're on to the Marilyn Monroe portion of the evening, because Zach Wilson has broken our brains, it's time to bid you a good night from the Jet Press Podcast. As always, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, wherever it may be you get your podcasts. We're on all those sites, YouTube and TikTok at the Jet Press for both. Make sure you give this video a like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And now, Justin, I wait with bated breath to find out how you will sign off.
Oh, man, I appreciate all of you guys. Like, I like being a positive person. I hate being negative. I hate ending on a sour note. So for all of you, anybody who has watched this stream, if anybody's here who's watched the whole thing and has spent the next hour of their life after that like 3.5 hour travesty of a football game, and you spent it with us talking about the Jets, you're awesome. Because like, I don't know, I wouldn't even want to do that. I don't want to be here talking about the Jets this long, but it's what we're doing. And honestly, it makes it a lot better having to being able to cope and to vent with others who are sharing in our misery, because this shit sucks. Like it's just awful. I hate watching it. I hate talking about it, but
I have a younger brother. He's going to be 8 soon. And if my dad keeps trying to make him a Jets fan, I will call CPS. Because no kid should watch this.
Good. You should, like, we should not be trying to recruit more Jets fans. There should not be more of us. It's a disease. It's bad. But for those of you
closing down the club, and it's a no-cry zone, take your licks, and that's it. No more.
For those of you who are sick with this disease, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at by Mike Luciano. Follow me on Twitter at Justin T. Freed. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Down the Jet Press Podcast, wherever you get your podcast, as Mike shouted at. Google, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Always shout out to Overcast. Also, check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, like, hit that notification bell. You guys know what to do. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, I should have mentioned this before. We did have an interview go up live with CJ Mosley. That went up, I believe, last Wednesday, right after the podcast. Check that out if you haven't already. We do ask about Aaron Rodgers potentially coming back. I don't know if that's happening at this point, but it was always fun to talk to an awesome dude like CJ Mosley. We got some fun Guess the Jets up. I think we have another one coming out tomorrow. You guys seem to really like those. I want to record some more of those because those are very fun, even if I embarrass myself sometimes by not getting players I should get. Anyway, though, thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I have been Justin Freed. That has been Mike Luciano. We will see you guys next time.
We'll see you on Wednesday for our regular podcast and on Friday for the Black Friday massacre that is to come, man. Strap in.